Goeienaand, dis 6:30 en tyd vir Fokus. Ek is Lenet Francis, welkom. Suid-Afrika het die afgelope week jeugdag gevier en op Fokus praat ons dus vanaand onder meer oor jong mense. Bietjie later vertel ons jou van die probleme wat boere in die Jeffreys Bay omgewing ondervind met onwettige inwoners op hulle plase. Maar eers fokus ons op die jeug. Skokkende inligting oor die mishandeling van kinders in Suid-Afrika het onlangs aan die lig gekom. Volgens 'n studie van die IBS Optimus Stichting het 1 uit elke 5 jong mense wat deelgeneem het, aangedui dat hulle in een of ander stadium van hulle lewe aan seksuele mishandeling blootgestel is. Dis aansienlik hoër as die wêreldgemiddeld. 1 uit elke 3 respondente het reeds fisieke mishandeling beleef. Meer as 9000 tieners van tussen 15 en 17 jaar het aan die steekproef deelgeneem. Die studie is gedoen deur navorsers van die Universiteit van Kaapstad en die Sentrum vir Geregtigheid en Misdaadvoorkoming. Ons is nou in Skype-verbinding met een van die navorsers, Lizaan Liuskut liewer. Sy is die direkteur van navorsing by die Sentrum vir Geregtigheid en Misdaadvoorkoming. Good evening, Lizaan. Welcome to Focus.
Good evening, Lynette, and thanks for having me.
Why so extensive and why the need to do research at this platform?
I think, if you think about just South African experience, we've always known that child sexual abuse and maltreatment have been a very big problem, but there's never ever been any nationally representative data to suggest to us exactly how big of a problem this was. So I think that the UBS Optimus Foundation, when they've commissioned this study, the idea was really just to get a comprehensive picture of child sexual abuse and maltreatment, but the idea was also to use this data not only to show how big of a problem it was, but to be able to inform effective programming to respond to this problem better, and then also to prevent it from happening in the first place.
So how did you collate all these children? Did you have to get permission from their parents? Was it one-on-one? Just give us some context to when and how it happened, and particularly the age groups.
Okay, so essentially to collect this data, we used 2 primary data sources, one of which was a population survey that was conducted with 15 to 17-year-olds that were recruited from both households as well as schools across the country. And what we did was we conducted the interviews on a one-on-one basis. We used enumerators that were of the same sex as the participant being interviewed. Obviously, all of these interviews were only completed once we had obtained parental consent as well as the child assent. And the study had also received a permission from the relevant ethics committees at the University of Cape Town that we've been collaborating with on this project.
Can I just go back to the one-on-ones in particular? How honest and frank were they to talk about the abuse that they've either seen or experienced, Lizaan?
Okay, so we know that obviously because we are collecting information on very sensitive experiences, we know that there might be some reluctance to sharing the experiences. So what we did was we basically used 2 particular types of instruments to collect the data. The one was an interviewer-administered questionnaire, so where you would have the participant responding to questions being asked by a trained enumerator. But then we also have what we call a self-administered questionnaire. And basically what this allowed the participant to do was once the interview was completed with the enumerator, the young person had an opportunity to respond to some of the more sensitive questions more privately. And what we actually found is when we compared the self-administered data versus the data that was obtained from the actual interviews with the enumerators, we found that when we got the highest disclosure rates from the self-administered data, and that's the data that we are reporting on in this study.
I know you speak a lot and make reference to a lot of the research terms, but I want to get to the heart of what they said and what they've seen, what they've experienced. How hurt are our young people, particularly those that have at first-hand experienced abuse, Lizaan?
Okay, so we found that obviously sexual abuse and maltreatment is alarmingly high in the country. But what we also found is that child sexual abuse very seldom occurs in isolation. And there is often a very strong overlap between other forms of maltreatment, such as physical abuse, emotional abuse, as well as neglect. But in addition to other forms of maltreatment, sexual abuse also very strongly overlaps with other forms of victimization. So, for example, being exposed to high levels of violence within the family, being exposed to other levels of community violence as well. So obviously this shows that there's very few spaces, I think, for South African children where they are safe from harm and where, they can actually feel safe.
And when they've either experienced it or were they exposed to it, did they ever share it with someone? Did they, for example, report it to a police station, involve other people?
We actually found that they were inclined to report it, but obviously it differs. So females who reported sexual abuse were more inclined to report their experiences to the relevant authorities, but the males, however, were less inclined. In fact, none of them actually reported it to the authorities, but they were inclined to speak about their experiences to other family members or relatives or friends. And I think that one has to think about being able to support the males, so encouraging them to report their experiences of sexual abuse. And also when they do speak to, for example, family members, friends, that we have to start encouraging those people to whom boys disclose to also then follow up on the experiences that there are. And I think also for the protection system to be responsive to boys reporting abuse as they would to girls reporting as well.
Wanneer ons terugkom na die breek, praat ons 'n bietjie oor waarom seuns so skugter is om hulle eie mishandeling met ander te deel. Moenie weggaan nie, ons is nou terug. Fokus praat vanaand oor die bevindinge van 'n nuwe studie oor kindermishandeling. Ons is nou in Skype-verbinding met een van die navorsers, Lizaan Leeuskut. Sy is die direkteur van navorsing by die Sentrum vir Geregtigheid en Misdaadvoorkoming. En net voor die breek het ons gepraat oor seuns en die mishandeling wat hulle ervaar. Waarom is seuns so skugter? Why are they so afraid to share their own abuse, Lizaan?
I think a lot of it happens, if we have to think about the context in which it happens. So we found that boys were more likely to report experiencing exposure types of abuse. And what this means is that there wasn't any contact involved in some of these experiences. And I think that oftentimes people tend to think that this is just, experimentation with one's sexuality. And that then would, not encourage boys to actually report it. So I think that there has to be this message that is sent out that boys' experiences of sexual abuse are as important as that of girls, and that it's important, that we take note of when this happens and also encourages them to report.
Do you think that in the past we've neglected to emphasize the importance of either reporting or even that abuse happens to young boys, and that those systems which are meant to support them don't necessarily reach out, and the focus isn't so much on boys than it would be on girls, for example?
Yes, I think that's exactly what's been happening. I think that this was one of the interesting findings emerging from the study, the fact that the difference between girls and boys and their experiences of sexual victimization was not as stark as one would expect. Actually, the UBS study was a 3-country study, and we found that there were vast differences between boys and girls' experiences, specifically with girls reporting more significantly higher levels of violence. And I think that it is something that society has to start thinking about how one responds, and firstly how one views the experiences of sexual violence against boys, and also ensuring that one responds to this. So when it comes to any prevention and intervention initiatives, I think the fact that boys also experience victimization in this nature, and that there's a differential impact of this on boys, that has to be borne in mind when one does start to think about what the interventions need to address and how one should operationalize those interventions.
You said earlier on that abuse seldom happens in isolation, and in a lot of these cases the perpetrators are known to these young people. Elaborate a little bit about that, particularly that you can't necessarily know that you are safe in your own home.
Yes, that's true. I mean, we found that if we look specifically at sexual abuse that was reported by a known adult, we find that most of these cases were perpetrated by a step-parent or a parent's living partner. This was in about 10% of the cases, and in about 20% of the cases, the perpetrator was either relative. So specifically in the case of sexual victimization perpetrated against girls, we find that most often, if it was a known adult, this family was actually someone living within the person's home. If we think about sexual abuse in general, we find that girls were most likely to be perpetrated by people who either live in their homes or people in and around their homes. So I think, again, it speaks to the fact that there we need to start creating social spaces that are safe for young people.
Now, if it happens in the home, Lizanne, is there this web of silence? Do family members know about it? Is there an amount of trust that you can actually share it with someone other than the perpetrator?
I think, yes, there is. I mean, we found what we did was, because we were collecting sensitive information, we were obligated to report any cases of abuse that was disclosed to us during the course of the interviews. And in order to do that, we've asked young people to identify, the details of at least 3 other people who they trust and who they would be willing, if the social services had to get into contact with them, who would be willing to able to do that. And the fact that these young people actually had people who they felt confident disclosing the experiences too, I think shows that there is some sort of support to them, but it's just a matter of obviously magnifying this and ensuring that when young people do reach out to others, that those people are actually able to support them in the way that they need to, and that they are able to refer them to the appropriate services.
And so oftentimes it's kids perpetrating these atrocities against other kids. Why is that?
Okay, so we did find that young people often perpetrated with the victims as well as the perpetrators in this, but this was specifically in the case of boys. And I think what this indicates is that there is a culture of sexual irresponsibility, so that young people often, express their sexuality in a way that might be unregulated. And I think that what this means then is that there needs to be some sort of intervention that assists young people, specifically males, to be able to express their sexuality in a way that it doesn't impact on others negatively.
So if they are exposed to all these risks, even in the home, at school, how do we protect them?
I think what's the important thing that's emerged from the study is when we look at the risk factors that we've explored, as well as the protective factors, we find that a lot of these are parent-related. So parents play a very important role in terms of prevention with regard to child sexual abuse and maltreatment. We found specifically that warm and supportive parent-child relationships, as well as parental monitoring and supervision, were significant factors that reduce the likelihood of young people falling victim to child sexual abuse and maltreatment. So in terms of prevention, I think that there's got to be programs that support parent-child relationships. There also has to be interventions that I think helps children and families to build resilience and to develop the necessary skills, relationships, as well as the knowledge to help them offset the risk that they're exposed to, both within the home as well as the communities in which they live.
Lizanne, thank you so much for your time this evening on Fokus. En so van jong mense se lot en ontberinge gepraat. Op 3 Julie het Fokus 'n eksklusiewe onderhoud met die dogter van die berugte Joey Haarhof. Amor van die Westhuizen praat onder meer oor haar jarelange mishandeling as 'n kind. Haar ma Haarhof was Gert van Rooyen se vriendin en hulle is in 1990 verbind met die ontvoering van 6 jong meisies wat vandag steeds vermis word. Maak dis 'n aantekening, 3 Julie, 'n gesprek wat jy moet hoor. Net hierna besoek ons die Oos-Kaap waar gekla word dat onwettige inwoners op plase lei tot 'n toename in misdaad. Moenie weggaan nie. Welkom by Fokus. Sommige boere in die Jeffreys Bay omgewing in die Oos-Kaap is raad op met plakkers en onwettige inwoners op van hulle grond. Volgens die boere gaan dit plek gepaard met misdaad en lei die onhoudbare situasie soms tot groot geldelike verliese. Bekommerde inwoners beweer ook dat die plaaslike polisiekantoor onderbeman is vir die snelgroeiende gebied se sowat 100,000 inwoners en nie hulle werk behoorlik kan doen nie weens logistieke beperkings soos 'n tekort aan onder meer patrollievoertuie. Regisseur Dani Juffers doen verslag en net 'n waarskuwing, die berig kan sommige kykers ontstel.
Teens Lessing is raadop met plakkers en onwettige inwoners op grond waar hy groente verbou. Hy het 'n huurooreenkoms met die eienaar van Sonop, 'n plaas vlak buite Jeffreys Bay. Volgens Teens wil hy die grond koop, maar vertraag die groeiende kopseer sy planne. Misdaad is ook 'n bron van kommer.
Hier's verkrachtings op die plaas. 2 vrouens is nou in 'n bestek van sê 'n maand wat hulle verkragt is hierso.
En sy kommer word deur ander boere en inwoners in die omgewing en op die plaas beamoen.
Vir die 25 jaar wat ons hier bly, het ons nog nooit nie 'n skaap of hoender verloor nie. En met hierdie dinge wat op die oomblik aangaan, is dit nag. Hulle het die 6de Maart ingebreek hier. Huis leeg gemaak. En dit is als dwelmverwant, jy weet, dit is niks is gebreek of wat nie. Dit was net netjies ingebreek en net die TV en al die groot goed gevat.
Teen se frustrasie is dosyne plakkers en onwettige inwoners wat op Sonop woon. Hoewel sommiges al jare daar woon, het vriende en familie blykbaar sonder toestemming van die eienaar hulle intrek in baksteen en sinkstrukture op die grond geneem. Volgens Teens bemoeilik moedswillige opstokers sy lewe en word die voortbestaan van 'n eens winsgewende boerdery bedreig. Hy het reeds groot geldelike verliese gely toe werkers einde verlede jaar geweier het om tydens oestyd te werk.
Nou hierdie nethuise was vol geplant gewees. Ons het niks hierso geoes nie. Daar was 60.000 plantjies wat nog moes ingegaan het op die ander kant hierdie nethuise. Dit kon nie ingegaan het nie want op die 23ste Desember het die mense net besluit hulle stop werk. So ons het omtrent so oor daai tydperk so 'n bietjie meer as R500.000 verloor. Ja, hierso, ons het al die pyplyne uitgehaal met die spreiers. Die hooflyn het hier deurgekom. Want jy kan dit nie inlos nie. Dit sal net weggeraak. Hulle steel die spreiers af. Jou staanpype, alles, hulle steel net. So ons het besluit, ons pak op hierdie kant. Ons boer nie verder hier nie. Ja, dis maar hartseer om te kyk hoe hierdie plantjies lyk. Ek kan nie glo hulle lyk nog so na al hierdie maande nie, maar ja, hier is baie geld verloor, definitief. Dis regtig is baie hartseer.
Waar eens geil groente-aanplantings onder skadinette gestaan het, groei nou welige onkruid. Skade aan nette is oral duidelik sigbaar en dierinfrastruktuur staan nou en vergaan in wind en weer.
Hierdie gate is ou snye wat hulle gemaak het voorheen om in die nette in te gaan en dan die groente uit te steel hierso. Voorheen met die tomaties is hulle hier uitgery na die snelweg toe, uitgedra na die snelweg toe en in die dorp gaan verkoop.
En nou dit ook verband met die plakkers hierso.
Dit is hulle.
No, onlangs het hier ook iets gebeur waarvan ek dink die wit mense is dit ook wat hulle omgekrap het, want hy 2 mense bly hier onder in die gaatjie. Dit is my neef en sy vrou wat ek dink dit is die Vrydag aand of die Saterdag aand is hulle aangeval.
En die slagoffers waarna Maria verwys is Katrina Bombo en haar man. Katrina woon al sowat 5 jaar op die plaas en is onlangs deur misdadigers aangeval, aangerand en verkrag.
Ons het gelê en in slaap nie. Toe sê ek vir hom as iemand by die deur, toe het hulle die onderdeur oopgemaak van die huis. En wat by die bootdeur kom, wat die oopmaak, sal hulle my hou en in op die kop. En vir my, toe vat hulle my so, trek hulle my broek uit en my verkrag.
Van die inwoners is op Sonop gebore en daar is selfs familiegrafte op die grond. Hoewel sommiges bereid is om na alternatiewe behuising op die dorp te skuif, is ander, soos James Bongo, wat volgens hom ook op die grond gebore is, minder geesdriftig.
Meneer, ek voel om hier te bly, meneer, man. Hoekom wil ek die dorp in gaan, meneer? Ek is bang, soos ek nou miskien ek werk met meneer, en meneer pay my die bank nou, en ek gaan al my geld daar by die bank also. Fokus wacht my daar, so ek wil nog huis toe kom, dan vat hulle my geld, hulle maak my dood of hulle skeer my uit mekaar. Dus ek kom ek wil nou nie hier bly nie.
Maar hier is ook ons misdaad hier.
Meneer, ek is op pad om die misdaad op te los, meneer. Ek het ook al iets gevind, vernaam verkrachting, huisbraak en die draakmendreks.
Die polisie kan dan nie.
Meneer, ons gaan 'n plan maak. Ons gaan nog polisiekamp toe om huisdinge te verlos, meneer. Die laaste van die aand waar jy loop, dis 10:00 en jou deur moet 10:00 toe is. Maar nou kom ons gaan nie op en af loop. 'n Paar van ons gaan nie loop. Ons gaan nog 'n meeting hou daarvoor, meneer.
Maar Maar mag jy hierso bly? Is dit jou grond hierdie?
Meneer, is nie my grond nie, hy is 'n klutsinger die maar hy het op beloof, maar ons moet nie eintlik weggaan nie so nie. Hy sal vir 'n stuk van die grond vir ons gee. Dis hoekom ons is hier so, meneer.
Maar as jy hierso woon, dan moet jy toch seker hierso werk ook?
Meneer, ek kan enige plek werk. As meneer belus is om te werk, meneer, werk op meneer. Ek het nie probleem nie.
Is jy iewers op 'n waglys vir 'n huis, Maria?
Ja, ek is op 'n waglys vir 'n huis want dit was gesê ons moet aansoek doen.
Hoe lank is jy al op die
vir
lys?
ons verhuise? Dit is seker nou al 2-3 jaar. Ons is nou nog reeds besig met die munisipaliteit want elke keer ek het al my vorms en alles ingevul en tot na hierdie uur toe het ek nog nie my huis gekry nie. Ek is 51.
Die meeste van hulle is wat nie hier gebly het nie. Hier's mense wat hierso plak al vir 'n hele paar jaar wat nog nooit op die plaas gewerk het nie, wat ook gesê het hulle sal in hulle lewe nie vir 'n boer werk nie.
Maar die vorige eienaar het hulle nie probeer afkry nie.
Nee, hy het gesukkel, hy wou 'n bemagtigingsstorie gedoen het wat die staat heeltemal afgeskiet het. Totaal en al.
Volgens van die inwoners met wie Fokus gesels het, is jong mense vermoedelik vir die misdaad verantwoordelik.
Ek loop in die nag want die kenners van die plek hulle dwal heel nag tot die môre. Want ek weet nou nie waar kom hierdie ding wat hulle doen nie. Hierdie rypery nie. Ek maar hoor in die môre sal word daar een stukken gekap en ingegaan en hy een seer gemaak.
Bekommerde inwoners en boere beweer dat die reg hulle in die steek laat. Fokus wou van die SABC weet of daar inderdaad rede tot kommer is oor misdaad in die gebied. Volgens 'n provinsiale woordvoerder in Port Elizabeth is daar gereelde polisiepatrollies in die Sonop-omgewing en is teens Lessing die enigste persoon wat oor die polisie kla. Maar dit blyk egter dat nog mense ontevrede is met polisieering in die gebied.
Wel, hulle doen op die oomblik niks nie, jy weet, ek weet van gevalle, jy weet waar die mense met messe gesteek is en enige ding en dan kom hulle 5, 6, 7, 8, partykeer kom hulle nie eers nie, jy weet.
Polisie kom so nou en dan weet ek nie wat praat hulle by ander mense nie. Want hulle kom ook maar nooit die by my. Ek sê hulle sien dan ry maar net hier verby. En praat hulle niks.
Die SABC het bevestig dat Katrina Bombo se verkrachting ondersoek word en dat aandag geskenk gaan word aan beweringe van dwelmhandel in die gebied. Intussen is teens Lessing besig met 'n regsproses om die plakkers en onwettige inwoners van Sonop se grond te verwyder.
En die Kuga munisipaliteit wat Jeffreys Bay bestuur het aan Fokus bevestig dat van die inwoners op Sonop wel op 'n behuisingswaglys is. Sowat 1500 huise word vir die Ocean View woonbuurt op die dorp beoog en bouwerk sal na verwagting binnekort begin. En dit is waar ons vereers moet halt roep. Ons is wel Sondag aand weer om 6:30 terug hier op SABC 2. Maar soos altyd nooi ons jou om terug te praat. Skryf gerus jou kommentaar, jou tweets en jou voorstelle. Skryf net die woord Fokus gevolg deur 'n kort boodskap en SMS dit na 34444. 'n SMS kos R2. Word gerus ook 'n lid van ons Fokus groep op Facebook en volg ons ook op Twitter by Fokus ZA. Baie dankie vir die saamkyk. Tot volgende Sondag aan dan weer om 6:30 net hier op SABC 2. Ons hoop jy 'n goeie week. Mooi bly.